Our cats and dogs appear to have emotional lives very similar to our own. When a cat's friend, whether feline, canine, human, or other species, dies or disappears, you may notice that the cat will seem subdued and inconsolable for a time. Today, Animals, my love, would like to share an emotional story about a cat. The cat mom that I took in from the streets was pregnant 3 times last year. The most a cat will have yearly, but she only managed to successfully give birth to her first litter, the little ones I found together with her. Her second birthing procedure took the whole day. In the morning I noticed trails of dried blood around the porch, and around 45 minutes later I was there just in time to see her pop out her first kitten. She let out a shrill meowing scream. The thing was, it didn't look like a kitten. It looked like a mass of flesh. There weren't any distinguishable heads or limbs, which meant she was having a miscarriage. The birth came too early. After that I went for my classes. Throughout the day I got updates from my siblings about her birth, and each text broke my heart. Each kitten was deformed. Heck, they weren't even formed. But amidst the 6 kittens that she managed to push out, one was a fighter. It had a face, features, limbs, even tiny claws. There was fur too. I could see that it was a little white. It was laid down in a box with the others. It breathed raggedly heavily for 2 hours. When it died, its mouth was still wide open, as if it had died trying its damnedest best to draw in its last breath. My siblings told me after Cat Mom gave birth to her last kitten, she turned back, looked down at the mass, and left. Just left. Normally they would tend to their kittens, chewing off the amniotic sac, I think so, licking them excessively, letting them drink milk, but she just walked off dejectedly and disappeared for a few hours. Although I wasn't there, I pictured the scene so vividly that I actually cried in class. I stood my ground and demanded that I would bury them, and I took a detour to get fresh, overpriced flowers to lay them on the grave. I reached home and smelled the pungent whiff of blood and placenta. It stayed with me for weeks. I slapped on a pair of gloves, found a spot, dug up a hole with trembling hands, held each tiny, lifeless, cold, bloody body for a while, before putting them down side by side. They came into this world sharing a womb, and they shall leave together sharing a grave. I even made a makeshift cross to mark the spot. Cat Mom came home that evening. My parents weren't in, so I let her into the house. Our cats are forbidden inside. She made her way to an unused small bedroom turned storage room and began to methodically search all the boxes she could reach. She would climb in, smell, stay for a couple seconds, and then make a plaintive sound and come out. I almost could hear her wail, "Where are my babies?" I sat on a stool in the middle of the room and looked closely at her. One time she turned her head and glanced at me, and I broke down. Just that one look from her, I squeezed my eyes and cried. I mourned for her babies that she could never cuddle with, and I mourned for her. I mourned for what could have been, but never would be. I cried secretly for days after that. I held back my tears when my sister told me that she actually went to search for Cat Mom. She found her at my neighbor's house lying down on her side, resting her head on her paw. She wasn't sure if Cat Mom was staring into space or sleeping, but my sister could feel palpable waves of sorrow emanating from her. She sat down and cried for her. Each day, whenever I could, I would gather wildflowers to place on the grave. I would spend time walking over there to pluck out grasses growing on their grave. I would also feed the mosquitoes during the process. I was actually contemplating the impermanence of all things and recognizing my growing attachment to both of them. And it was though on some level he understood. My cats have taught me so much and never cease to amaze me. They are habitual creatures, yet much of the time unpredictable. The more one observes them, the more there seems to be to learn from them, especially if one is fortunate enough to be able to spend a considerable amount of time with them. They are surprisingly intelligent creatures with highly individual personalities, and when they are not in their mad moments or in a hunting mode, surprisingly obedient and responsive. Cats do bond with their feline companions, becoming depressed if they pass away. After the passing of your kitty, you may notice that his feline companion seems depressed and listless. In his own way, your other kitty is experiencing grief over the loss of his friend. Spend time with him to give him comfort as the two of you recover from your loss. While we can't ask our feline friends how they're feeling, we can rely on their behavior to give us an indication of their moods. These changes indicate some form of sadness or upset in the kitties over the loss of their kitties or friends, and the alterations in their environment and routines because of the losses. We would like to spread the love for animals to the world. If you have any stories about abandoned, abused cats and that need help and rescue, please send us an email.